State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi's refusal to accept the evidence of ongoing oppression of the Rohingya people in Myanmar's Rakhine State displays the failure of Myanmar's government in dealing with the conflict. The British ruled Myanmar since 1824. The Rohingya people contributed to what was known as migrant labor for rice farming and other labor activities. The Rohingya built such a close relationship with the British that during World War II, they favored the British while the other citizens of Myanmar sided with the Japanese. The British in return gave the Rohingya people government jobs. However, their separate state, promised to them by the British, which was to be called the Muslim National Area, was denied. In 1948, Myanmar gained independence from Britain. Because of the preset differences in the groups, the Rohingya and citizens of Myanmar became more hostile towards each other, similar to the Hutu and Tutsi tribes in Rwanda. In 1950, the Rohingya staged a rebellion against the Myanmar government. Their demands remained throughout history to gain citizenship and a separate state dedicated to them. Unfortunately, however, the Myanmar army destroyed the entire resistance. In 1962, a military coup turned Myanmar into a one-party military state ruled by dictator Ne Win. The army recognized the Rohingya people as foreigners as they weren't legal citizens. The Myanmar army tortured, raped, and killed Rohingya people. Persecution continued and got increasingly worse. In 1982, the Citizenship Act of Myanmar was passed. It denied the Rohingyas' right to citizenship. It required that a person's ancestors belong to a national race or group in Myanmar prior to the British rule in 1823. There have been many other cases of the Rohingya fleeing Myanmar to escape persecution. Aung San Suu Kyi is the daughter of General Aung San, who has been described as Myanmar's greatest advocate for independence. Originally from Rangoon in Myanmar, she settled in the United Kingdom to raise her family. In 1988, she returned to Rangoon to care for her fatally ill mother. During her time back in Myanmar, the citizens were protesting for democratic reform. She became a lead activist and led the revolt against General Ne Win. Her campaigns were halted when the military staged a coup on September 18, 1988, and she was placed on house arrest in 1989 and then released in 1995. In 2000, when she contravened her travel restrictions, she was put on house arrest again. She was finally released in May of 2002. About a year later, she was imprisoned for a conflict between her followers and government supporters. She was then later put on house arrest. She was most recently released from her sentence in November of 2010. Suu Kyi thought that because she was the daughter of a powerful rights activist, she was obligated to stand up for her country's democratic rights. Her political party, the National League for Democracy, was struggling to gain full power over the Myanmar government, with their competition being the military junta led by Ne Win. Her party was finally able to win by a majority in the elections held in April 2012. Suu Kyi is unable to run for president because her sons weren't citizens of Burma. However, her party was able to run in the elections held by the president, Thein Sein. The NLD won by a landslide. Many, however, were denied voting rights, including the Rohingya Muslims. Later recognized for ignoring abuse toward the Rohingya of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi begins to create a bad picture of the Myanmar government. The Rohingya are currently recognized as the world's largest stateless community. They are denied basic rights including healthcare, education, and employment, even legal protection from the government. The illiteracy rate within Rohingya civilization is 80%. The conflict continues today with more attacks. Unsurprisingly, they begin with Rohingya militants launching attacks in protest. In August 25, 2017, the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, or ARSAP, assaulted numerous police posts. In response to these attacks, the Myanmar government forces carried out brutal attacks on all Rohingya in the Rakhine state of Myanmar. They burned down houses, beheaded men, and raped women. The Rohingya people, not recognized as legal citizens of Myanmar, are being forced out of the state of Rakhine and are seeking refuge in Bangladesh, primarily Cox's Bazar area. The UN Human Rights Chief Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein stated that the security operation in Myanmar was a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Because the government security forces are killing hundreds of thousands of Rohingya in the process, this has also been described as a genocide of sorts. Binali Yildirim, the current Prime Minister of Turkey, told reporters that the Myanmar military has been trying to uproot Rohingya Muslims community from their homeland, and for that they persecuted them, set fire to their homes, villages, raped and abused women, and killed them. It's one kind of genocide. While we have yet to see what State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi will do to ease the tension, other countries have taken action providing necessary resources for the Rohingya people still in Myanmar and the refugees in Bangladesh. Yildirim of Turkey found a medical camp at Balukhali, another refugee camp, and oversaw the distribution of food and water to the Rohingya refugees at Kutupalong, one of the largest standing refugee camps in Bangladesh. Suu Kyi won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1991 for her nonviolent struggle for democracy and human rights. This itself has caused a lot of backlash, as it seems as if she dismisses the conflicts between the Rohingya and citizens of Myanmar. Within the year of Suu Kyi winning the prize and the next year to come, over 250,000 Rohingya fled persecution into Bangladesh. She had been accused by critics of keeping quiet, as she failed to speak out about the problems at all. When it comes to the idea of ethnic cleansing, Suu Kyi denies that ethnic cleansing is in fact occurring. In fact, she states that ethnic cleansing is too strong of a word to use in this situation. She dismisses the harshness of the general situation as well, saying Buddhists were also subject to violence, and even accuses the media of exaggerating the brutality. Before her political party, the NLD, won office, Suu Kyi's fallback explanation was that the country was deeply traumatized from the previous dictatorship. She even said that the government was responsible for the conflict. This changed when her party won by a landslide in the elections of 2012. The only plausible explanation for why she hasn't been taking action towards the displacement of so many people is that the military is responsible for controlling home affairs, defense, and border affairs. So in some light, Suu Kyi is almost defenseless in actually stopping the conflict, but that certainly doesn't dismiss her from communicating the word to the rest of the world and providing the support she is fully capable of. It can be said that she agrees with the government in denying the Rohingya citizenship. In many cases, in speaking publicly, she does not refer to the Rohingya as Rohingya. Al-Hussein has stated that it was dehumanizing. Suu Kyi at this point is trying to distract the world from what is going on, diverting from the issue of displacement of the Rohingya and widespread violence to immigration and terrorism. The potential implication is simply Aung San Suu Kyi is against Muslims.